Good morning, magandang umaga po. We will talk about how exactly I plan for my retirement. One question that I'm always being asked. And just when did you start planning for your retirement? When should we start planning for our retirement? That's what we'll talk about today. Stay with me. One of the most serious questions being asked by my viewers is, when did you plan your retirement and how exactly did you plan for your retirement? We're not going to talk about numbers, figures, or whatnot. This is strictly a narrative point of view for what I did when I was young. I came to the US or Canada when I was 20 years old, very young. Got married at 21, and shortly thereafter I had a kid. So what did I do? When I started working, I was receiving very little amount of money, very little. Being a foreigner, the companies were taking advantage of me. That's true. I did not know it at that time, but now I realize what was happening. When I was in Canada, I was making like $475 a month. When I started in the US, I was making $8,000 per year. And my wife was making more money than I was. She was making at that time $12,000 a year. And that was not the same as $12,000 today, okay? Back then, that's a lot of money. But what I did is this. I did nothing. First year, we were enjoying life. But when we had a kid, that's when I sat down. And I put down a piece of paper. At the time, I was using the columnar form, the form with several columns, and everything is pencil and paper. There was no computer at that time. And I looked at how much I need to save for me to send this kid to college. I had to research how much is college tuition. Of course, I already know how much we are spending and how much are we going to spend for her education every year, starting from grade school. After about 3 hours of number crunching, I closed the book and I said, I cannot live. If I save today what I will need tomorrow, there is no way I am going to survive. So for those people who are planning now, don't let that discourage you. Don't let that discourage you. But by doing that, I realized that, boy, this is going to be a rough road ahead of me. My solution is to increase my income. It's not how much to set aside, but I have nothing to set aside. And all of you will go through this process of not having enough money to pay for day-to-day stuff. So at that point I said, the hell with planning. Until the time I'm making sufficient income that I can plan, there's nothing to plan. So I focused on my career. I studied a lot, pursued different careers. I tried to set up my own accounting practice. I tried to do this and that. This worked a little bit, but nope, I have to quit. I have to stop it. I have to get into real estate back then. And within, I think it was less than a year, I gave it up. I said, I cannot do real estate part-time. This is a full-time job. So I did everything that I can. Anyway, it was good, because I was able to progress. Not as fast as I want, okay? But I progressed faster and faster. The first time I applied or attempted to apply for a CPA exam, I couldn't, because at the time they required you to be a US citizen. It is when they changed the law that they no longer require US citizenship to sit for the exam, I was able to sit for the CPA exam. Took it twice. First time I passed 4 parts, failed 1. Took it the second time, I passed everything. became a CPA. That was the beginning. That was the beginning of my transition to a higher paying job. But I did not stop there. I kept on looking and looking. I figured if you stay in one job, in one company, the progression will be very slow. So you have to keep on jumping to another company, to another company. Now, I only jumped from one company to the next. But within the same company, on my next job, I was moving to another subsidiary within the same company, which is the same thing as moving to another company. You're able to progress. And that is exactly what I did. So what happened since then? Well, I progressed. And at some point I realized, gee, I have to enjoy life a little bit. Of course, I'm setting aside a certain amount, very small amount of money. And I traveled. And I'm going to show you the places I have traveled to, because when I started listing this down, we have traveled a lot. It's unbelievable. We have traveled a lot. So I'm going to show you where we traveled and how I experienced it. Then we will continue with the plan, okay, with the planning process. So let's take a look at it. First, in the US. The first year I was in Canada. 1 year, exactly 1 year. 1 year later, I came to the United States. That's when we got married in the US. And then I have been working in the US since that time. Now, what happened to Mexico? While I was working for a US company, I was sent to Mexico. Then they made me a president of the Mexican subsidiary. Why did they do that? Because they felt I'm multicultural, I can understand the Mexican culture, or I could adjust to the extent I don't know the Mexican culture, I can adjust to a different culture because I have been to Canada, I have been to the Philippines, now I'm in the US. They thought that that will be a definite plus for me to run the operation in Mexico, so I did. So I've been to Canada for 1 year, Mexico for 5 years, United States, the rest of the years that I have been away, about 50 years, okay, total 50 years. And in Mexico, I was coming home on a weekend and working there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday until Friday, come back home on the weekend, then fly back again, 5 days. So I have visited extensively Mexico, the United States. I have visited most major cities, and in some cases small cities, because I was like a traveling salesman at some point in my career. Now, let's continue on with the places I have seen. South America, I have been to Argentina and Brazil. Well, Brazil, I think we visited twice. Argentina, I visited alone without my wife because that was part of a business trip. And then I spent some time roaming around Argentina to learn a little bit about the country. Now, because of some pressure in my job, every year we had to go to at least one Caribbean place, and that is to escape from the winter. It's very cold here, so usually around January or February is when we go away. Caribbean islands, I've been to Aruba, I think I was there twice. I've been to Bahamas, I think once. Barbados, Cayman Island, can't remember if I went there once or twice. Curacao, oh, I enjoyed Curacao. Dominican Republic, we went there twice. Jamaica, we went there once. Puerto Rico, I think we went there a couple of times. Saint Lucia, Saint Martin, and Saint Martin. U.S. Virgin Islands. Let's look at Europe. We went to Austria. Now, this is one of the so-called big trips. When we go to Europe, that's a big trip. Usually it takes 2 weeks or even 3 weeks. The Caribbean, we could be away just for 3-4 days. In some unusual situation, maybe 1 week. Okay, but in most cases, it's only 3 or 4 days just to get away. Czech Republic, in particular, Prague. France, we went to French Riviera, Monte Carlo, and Lourdes. Germany, Greece, That's the first and only cruise we have taken. We took a cruise of Greece, and I'd like to take another cruise, and maybe that is Alaska. That is on my list, but we haven't visited Alaska yet. Hungary, Budapest, Italy, extensively within Italy. And we have visited that place twice. Once with me and my family, and second with me and my wife and my in-laws. So I took my parents to Italy, and that is their first overseas trip other than coming to the United States. Netherlands, the Amsterdam, Portugal. While we were in Portugal, we visited the miraculous place of Fatima, Slovakia, Spain, and we missed going to Morocco. There was a ferry that's supposed to take us to Morocco, and we missed that trip. Not too bad. We also went to Switzerland, so quite a bit. UK. We went to UK maybe 2 or 3 times. The one time we went to UK, listen to this, there was a sale for a flight to UK. We spent there for 3 days or 3 nights, or is it 2 nights and 3 days? Something like that, short period of time. It includes airfare and breakfast in the morning, all for $300. $300, okay? Now, I went to these places and said, gee, it must be so expensive. No. I'm not rich. We went there mostly using my frequent flyer miles. I traveled extensively in the United States, okay? Almost 3 weeks of every month. 1 month I'm in the office, 1 week I'm in the office, and 3 weeks out of that month, I'm traveling in 3 or 4 states per week. So in 1 week I could be in 3 states. There was 1 week where I traveled from Philadelphia to California, back to Philadelphia, and then traveled again to California, and then back again, or maybe not California, but someplace near California. I had to do that because I had another appointment somewhere else. And in my business, the client or the potential customer calls the shot as to when he is available. So I have to fly when they are available. So because I was doing that kind of traveling, I accumulated a lot of frequent flyer credits, and that's how I paid for that. The thing is, the more you travel, okay, the easier you accumulate the frequent flyer miles. For example, after I already have 100,000 miles, they say, oh, now you're entitled to double miles. And sometimes they have specials, triple miles. So from here to California is 3,000 miles. So when I accumulated enough miles, I have a high mileage, I was getting 6,000 miles. 6,000 miles. So it's very easy to accumulate those. In fact, after I retired and everything, I have over 1 million miles on American. And some of it I still have not used, maybe about 200,000 miles I still have not used today. And I'm saving that for my trips between Seattle and Connecticut to visit my daughter and my son. And also on hotels, they give you a break. Because if you're a frequent traveler, for example, where is that? I think it's the Holiday Inn in New York. They reserve a room specifically for me because I was there week after week after week. Also in, I think it's Arizona, they give me the same week for me to feel at home whenever I'm there, so I'm in a familiar environment. So they save a room specifically for me. So, and same thing with rental cars. And by the way, these hotels, rental cars, they either give you hotel credit or they give you a frequent flyer credit also. So I accumulated a lot of miles, and that's what I used to visit these places, also in the Caribbean. Okay? Middle East, we just did this recently. I think about 3-4 years ago, we went to Israel. Oh, one of the best trips I ever had. Asia. We have been to Australia. I love Australia. You guys should see Australia. And I will go back, hopefully, to Australia once I move to the Philippines, because Philippines is fairly close to Australia, and I really enjoyed Australia. Been to China. I enjoyed China. Hong Kong. I think I went to Hong Kong when I was in the Philippines once. Japan is another place that my wife has not been to yet, because I went there twice during a business trip. Of course, you went to Philippines. Now, I have not been to the Philippines. I have been to the Philippines, but only after 25 years of being absent. I went to the US, Canada, and all these places. Never went back to the Philippines. 25 years later, I went back. Okay, 25 years. Then after that trip, I did not go back again for another 10 years. Then at that point, I was getting ready for retirement. And I said, this might be a place. So when I started thinking about the Philippines, that was only my second visit within the last 50 years. Been to Singapore, South Korea. That's another place my wife haven't been to yet, because I went there on a business trip and I took the time to look at the country. Thailand, beautiful country. Turkey. Turkey is part of our cruise when we went to Greece. So we just got on the cruise ship and went to Turkey. That's a list of all the places we have been to. And sometimes I look at the places that I still want to go through, and there's still a lot, but I know I cannot do them all. But I am very pleased. If I die tomorrow, for example, I'll be very happy. I will be very happy. We have seen a lot of places that many, if not most people, have not seen. And I'm glad I did. I still want to see Africa, but most likely Africa I will not be able to achieve, because that is not a priority for me. But I need to see Alaska and some other countries. So anyway, be that as it may, I spent a lot of money, including on the land, because the land I have to pay for, and I get some discounts on the hotel. But the airfare is usually paid for with the frequent flyer. So thank you very much to the company who gave me that opportunity. And a lot of people do not have that opportunity, which I can understand. But I had an opportunity, so I took advantage of it. So we were able to see a lot of places. Then when I sat down, oh, by the way, I can't remember if it's my son or my daughter, they asked me, do we have a college fund? I said, nope. No? They said, no? Nope. I'm paying all your tuition out of my current income. So as you can see, I did not set aside money. Okay? I paid it out of my current income. Meanwhile, I spent a lot of money traveling. Okay? And it is because I fixed the problem that I found earlier on, when I found out I'm not making enough money. This can't happen, or I'm going to starve. So I strived, I studied, I competed with the co-workers that I have, changed jobs to move forward. And that rewarded me with all these trips that I got, with the education of the children. Then I'm getting close to retirement. So I looked at the numbers. That is when I started planning. And that was only about 7 years ago. 7 years ago. Now, luckily, my starting point, I had some money saved. I had equity on the house that I upgraded 3 times. Every time I move, I buy a house that is 3 times as expensive or more expensive than what I had before. My feeling is, I like real estate. I don't want it to be a real estate investment, because I don't want the headache. By the way, I did real estate investment and I got burned. Okay, so don't think that I just brushed that off. No, I did not. But I got into real estate investing. I got burned and I moved on. I said, gee, I'd rather enjoy buying a single home in the suburbs. And I enjoyed it. And then my family got bigger. Now I have 2 children. So I said, I need a bigger house. And I looked at it and I said, gee, this is a lot of money, but it's okay. It will build up equity. And when your investment is this much compared to this much, the equity buildup will be much higher than the smaller one. So I was cash strapped because I was paying for all this heavily. But now that I'm ready to retire, I said, oh wow, the equity really built up. So now I have some money in effect saved for me to retire on. That is how I did my planning. It sort of happened by accident. It did not happen to zero equity by accident. It happened with a lot of equity by accident. So I'm lucky I did that. And looking back, now here is another moral lesson to this story. Enjoy life. Do not say, oh, I will do this when I retire. No, don't do that. Make sure as you move on, enjoy a little bit of what you're working for. Set aside some. And my way of setting aside some is by buying a more expensive house and going through the pains of paying it off, knowing that the equity buildup will be much greater. That's how I did it. And I'm so happy that if I expire, let's say, tomorrow, I've visited a lot of places. I don't have any regrets with the life that I have. I'm happy where I am. I'm happy with everything that I have learned and I can share with you, or I have been sharing with you. And that is the story of my retirement planning. So guys, enjoy what you can, not too much, but what you can while you're living. Today, if I'm going to look at the tour we have in Greece, I probably cannot do it because of all the hiking that we had to do. In Israel, and that was only about 4 or 5 years ago. Can I do it? I probably still can, but it'll be a little bit more effort because now I'm a little bit older. And there are places, for example, I love snorkeling. I always want to snorkel. Now, can I do it still? Probably, and I probably still will try it. But I cannot do scuba diving, which I wanted to do, but I never had an opportunity to learn how to scuba dive. And these are things that you need to think about. Yes, I can do something tomorrow, but will I have the stamina? Will I have the funds? Will I have this and that? That will require that. The point is, if I die today, I'm happy. If I retired today and I'm just beginning and then I cannot do those things, worse yet, if you die next day and you have not done any of those, then that's going to be a shame. So, plan as early as you can, and by planning, look at what I did. I planned for 2 or 3 hours, and I closed the book, and I said, no, I know now what is needed for me to retire comfortably. And then just periodically do it, and then as you get close, do it annually. And for those people, because it's so easy to do it now, with the computer, with the spreadsheet and all, it's so easy to do it now. You can even get softwares that will do planning for you. Don't ask me where, and just Google it, okay? But I'm pretty sure there are software. Sometimes finance companies are even offering it. So just Google it. So that is how I did it. And I hope I was able to contribute something to your thinking or planning about retirement. And do share this with other people. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and make it a great day. God bless.